This is the second in a series of videos on reminiscence, and I'm more or less going to talk about the why. Why do we bother to reminisce with the people we work with, and with older people in particular that we work with? And the first answer is really simple. It's to get to know them. And it's how we get to know each other is through talking about our histories and where we've been and what we've done. It's a way of connecting the past, the present and the future. So I've learned a lot, not just about life, but about business and negotiation, sales of some of the older people that I've worked with that have been in business for years. And as a guy who's now sadly passed away, a guy called Rick Drayson was a bodybuilder, run a YouTube channel called Old School. And the analogy was that the bodybuilding techniques that worked in the 1950s would still work now in the new millennia. Well, they do, because nothing's really changed. And I'd go the same way with a lot of the life experiences we have. There's a common theme, a common suffering, and that doesn't really change from decade to decade, from century to century. So another reason why we do is it confirms identity and self-worth for the person, and it allows them to express who they are. It encourages social interaction between us as individuals, the people that you're working with, but also the staff as well. It's a part of a life review process. So it's looking at elements of a person's life over a period of time, and that indirectly impacts on the care. So it opens up relationships, and that comes back to getting to know people. It often alters the perceptions of the people that you have about the people that you're working with, and also the other people in the environment have about that individual. So I've learned some great things about some very interesting people over the years. The man who couldn't swim, who became a deep sea diver because the training and the unit was based close to where his wife was in the Second World War. The woman who was 4 foot nothing, who was a HGV driver in the Second World War. Another woman who was dropped into France and acted as a spy, had a bullet wound in the back of her calf. So these people were just little old people sitting in care homes, unless you spoke to them and found out who they really were as individuals. So it benefits the recipients, and people really do genuinely enjoy it. So we come into this idea about person-centered care, and also person-centered activities. And should reminiscence be person-centered even when you're working in a group? And the answer basically is yes, all activities should be person-centered, all care should be. So what people lose sight of is that activities are part of a care package, and just as much as anything else, they need to be person-centered, and quite often the staffing and the funding isn't there to allow that to happen, which is a real issue, and it's a real sadness. And I'll be quite honest, as I'm recording, we're right in the middle of all the COVID thing on the second round. And I would be doubtful whether some of the activity coordinators are actually allowed to do their job and haven't been just seconded through to basically do caring, because they're short-staffed. The care homes are short-staffed. And that's not a criticism, it's a statement of fact. But activities is part of care. And I would argue that it's probably as important as some of the personal care elements that go on. So I'm going to cut it there, and then we're going to talk about some basic elements of something called well-being, and how reminiscence and activities impacts on that in the next video.